Texas, Wyoming, and all over the place, cities just say, well, we got to build some new roads and curbs, so every house gets a $15,000 to $20,000 one-time assessment, and the people are like, I don't have a job. I'm already about to lose my house. Where do you think the money's going to come from? And the locals say, look, give us the money or a SWAT team's coming.
Well, and again, this is where we're going to have the breakdown, because people, when you don't have it, you can't squeeze more out of it. People are going to become very ugly and very violent. The ads that you're running on your show for lasers and other kinds of things are going to be, survival's going to be a big business. I'm a close combat martial artist. I've been practicing for over a quarter of a century. I'm armed. I have my SKS, and it's registered for, if anybody listening out there that thinks it's an illegal operation. I will protect myself if I have to. I haven't been put on this earth for somebody else to think that they're better than I am and can take my life.
Gerald Celente, I want to run through a whole line of questioning with quick answers from you if I can, because there's so much I want to pick your brain on. But going back to my second question, why are they trumpeting that, yes, we're setting up world government, yes, we've been setting it up in secret, yes, it's anti-democratic, but it's for your own good?
Well, because these are because it's a takeover. It's, as I said, Washington's been taken over by Wall Street. And they're going to keep saying it's for our own good, but it's not going to do any good. Again, the people that are in control, it's out of their hands.
Why are they killing the golden goose? I mean, they have this system.
Greedy.
They have this system.
And why do people get into politics? Eisenhower had a great quote. He said anybody that would want to run for president had to be crazy or psychologically, deranged.
They're control freaks. Well,
yeah,
that's the bigger issue.
You're crazy. So, he said if you're called on to serve, that's different. But these people spend their whole lives trying to tell other people how to live. So, the system is breaking down. The big story behind everything that's going on here, and this is what we wrote back in 2002, the summer edition of the Trends Journal, Empire America fading fast. This isn't an economic crisis. The empire is in decline. We can see in the future these secessionist movements that are taking root gaining more and more strength. As a matter of fact, I spoke at one in Vermont this past November, and it's one of the more active ones in the country.
Well, Gerald, we have this huge $1 trillion+ a year military-industrial complex. It's imploding worldwide, and it appears that this whole apparatus, this predatory system, is going to implode back to the U.S. only, and then they're then going to predate and feed on us here domestically. I mean, is that the plan?
I don't know what the plan is, but I do know that they will do anything to keep the people in line. And that the freedoms, look what happens every time there's a political convention. They bring in the stormtroopers. You can't step out of line. Look what happened here in New York from the Republican and Democratic convention. I think it was the Republican convention.
2004, I was there.
Yeah, look at the videotape of the police assaulting innocent people and rounding them up and pushing false charges on them and throwing them in jail. This is America. This isn't the America that I grew up to love.
And by the way, they lost over 1,000 lawsuits over that, but they don't care. They just pay them off with tax money. Gerald Celente is our guest. When we get back, I want to quickly get into their attack on the Internet. They're moving to shut down the old web, force us onto a highly regulated Internet, too. That's part of Obama's big upgrade. Madoff, this is the former head of the NASDAQ, showing a window into the criminal class that's literally ruling us, the Eddie Haskells with an army. I want to get into the fact that the elites are all leaving the United States and leaving Israel and leaving other key areas. Why are the billionaires fleeing Israel and the United States? Where you see this going, what you see militarily happening as the empire collapses, and then solutions to all of this. And again, how you see us coming out of all of this. Gerald Celente is our guest, trendsresearch.com. Go there and sign up for his report. All right, Gerald Celente. I want to go to calls in the next segment, so let me go through these calls quickly. If if anybody was doubting how criminal Wall Street is, Madoff, they're now saying it could be over $100 billion, not $50 billion, stolen from charities, pension funds, government pension funds, Jewish groups, ripping off his own sons. I mean, this is the type of kleptocracy that we have. And it turns out the brokerage firms and banks were knowingly involved in all of this with him. That's what this derivative system is a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they should call it a Ponzi scheme anymore. Ponzi was small change compared to these criminals. You know, let's call it a Matloff, you know. I mean, you know, this thing, it's endemic. It's throughout all of Wall. This is what Wall Street has become. You know, what's bad for Wall Street, Alex, is great for Main Street. And I'll tell you why. It's Wall Street that killed Main Street. It's Wall Street with all this finagling that allows these huge developers to borrow all of this money on leverage, build these huge malls, and then the criminals in hand, the politicians who get all these payoffs, they call them campaign contributions, then they give these huge developers all of these breaks, you know, these loan guarantees, they give them access road building and tax breaks. And what they've done is they've put Main Street out of business. This belief that we need a Wall Street so that we can keep creating the ugliness that they've created. I mean, my God, does anyone like driving down a street and seeing nothing but strip malls and malls compared to the old, beautiful cities? And by the way, we're now in Kingston, New York, and appropriately, without knowing it, but maybe we did at some level, we're right off the most historic corner in the United States. We're right on it. The only corner in the U.S. where there's a stone building on each corner dating back to the 1600s. And also, Kingston was one of the core hotspots of the Revolution. The Senate House is still here, and it was the first capital of New York State. We're here because it's a walking community. We have all these beautiful old buildings, and we support all the local people around. That as this dies, as these giants fall, we're going to start seeing a return to local. So, because what we also do at the Trends Research Institute, when we write the Trends Journal, is we give people trend posts to follow, to profit and to avoid dangers. As this thing unfolds more and more, the real estate buys, and there will be, but not yet, are going to be in these kind of communities where people could live and where they work, where they shop, where they have a community. The only thing that's going to save people during this greatest depression is to build the strongest communities that they can. Not a federal or a state, but a local. That's where the survival is going to come about.
Instead of vertical integration, going back to local control and true diversity and sovereignty, shifting gears back to something you said a few minutes ago, they've weaponized the market. These private brokerage firms and central banks can issue endless liquidity to themselves. They create the monsters like Walmart and others. They consolidate the economy like a giant risk game until the final phase when there's nothing left, and they're sitting there with all the currency, all the power, all the money, but they've destroyed their own markets, and that's why Wall Street was aware of the criminal activity with their Ponzi schemes, and that's why they moved in with the police state. But again, what is going to support the police state when there's no taxing base?
Exactly. As we said, there's going to be high levels of anarchy and revolution. And, the other thing is that the other reason why we're at where we're at, while we're located here, it's a very rich area in terms of agriculture, academics, manufacturing, great transportation, the Hudson River, beauty, the Hudson River Valley. So it's going to be these kind of places and these kind of things. Something old is dying, but something new will be born. And, I'm a world traveler, and the one thing I can say, and I mean this with all my heart, is everywhere you go, people are always envious of the United States because they still think that we have the freedoms, of course, that we don't have. But what we do have that no one else does have.